Ann Arbor's Talk Station, 1290 WLBY, all things design, Damian on design. Each week we take a look at the impact design has on our lives. Damian Farrell Design Group, he's an architect here in Ann Arbor. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I am wonderfully well, and you brought with you today a woman who we've actually talked with in the past on another segment on our show. Nice to see Dawn Zuber again. She's one of those eclectic people. She does everything. She's an architect.
That's why she's on the show today.
She makes jewelry.
We're exposing everything about Dawn. Well, not everything.
She has a band. She and her husband, Bitter Regrets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
And Dawn does a great job in the community and in our area as a professional too. She's always been very involved in the profession.
She is the owner of
strong advocate.
Studio Z Architecture and is a member of the American Institute of Architects. You serve on the National Steering Committee for something known as CRAN. What does that stand for?
It's the Custom Residential Architects Network.
And what is its role?
The role of the group is to basically advocate on behalf of architects who specialize in custom residential architecture, which is anything from a small remodeling project up to a custom home.
This is pretty important when you think about the misperception people might have about architects and whether they can afford them. Damian?
Yeah, it's, Dawn and I talked before the show, and I think all of us who are involved in residential architecture, we can all tell some of the same. I mean, we can all tell the same story, and we would tell the same story if asked, and use some of the same adjectives and words. Things like, I don't know that I can afford you. I don't know how you work. What is it you really do? What you do for us. How does that work? How does the process work?
Do we really need
you?
you?
Do we really need you?
Let's just get right down to it.
Yeah.
All right, so why does someone need an architect when they're doing a project?
I'll let Dawn go first.
Whether it's a remodel or
a
whole house.
Yeah, I think an architect brings kind of a special way of looking at things and understanding how spaces might be better utilized, and by simply opening up a wall or something, we might totally change the character of a house. And I think we have an ability to see. I mean, I keep telling people, we can kind of see what's not there.
Yeah.
And I think I said that to you last time I was here. But we have the capability of really seeing the kind of how things might be best used.
Yeah, because I think mostly if I look back anywhere on our work, when someone comes to us, they are coming to us generally with a two-dimensional problem. My kitchen doesn't work, in plan. So they are thinking in plan. Our back entry doesn't work. Our laundry room doesn't work. We want to add a bedroom for, those kinds of things. And so they are dealing with in plan, literally, right? So it's in two dimensions. And then our job is to solve the three-dimensional puzzle. And I think that's one of the major values of what we bring. Apart, from things like the health of the space as well, natural light, ventilation, materials, this focus on healthy environments now, healthy spaces.
So this national network of CRAN has a lot of impact with local architects being members, and they've got a nice toolkit on their website for organizing locally. What are some of the issues that are hot for architects right now as far as these issues go, and the kinds of things you might be working on that are important to your organization?
I think mainly the recognition aspect and the fact that we are useful, we are affordable to some degree or another. I mean, we can, we can work with people for their homes, and I think there's a perception out there that architects don't do residential architecture, that there isn't a need for an architect. You just call a contractor and they draw up a plan.
Yep.
So, we're trying to get the word out that we add value to the process, that houses that are designed by architects or renovated by architects have more value because they're really well thought out. Where
I think the value is the big issue.
Yeah,
and we've certainly seen it in our work, and that I think especially before this market crash, that some of the homes that we'd worked on were more desirable than some of their competitors on the market at that time. Generally, we found that when they've sold quickly and sold well, and that that people go in and get it. You know, even new buyers going into a home that we've done in the past, and you probably found this too, right? They go, yeah, this, you know, this was well thought out and it works for us, as opposed to, and not talking it down, but buying a plan book, for instance. All right, you know, you're stuck with that, and I know you've had this too. Someone comes in with a plan book. Oh, well, we'd like to shift this to over there and this to over here, but we like this.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a jigsaw puzzle that no longer fits.
Right.
You might as well go back to square one because you just can't do it that way.
Yeah.
You either do that plan, you can flip it or mirror it if you want. You know, put curtains in the garage. So I love that one. You know, it sort of looks like part of the house. Right?
Yeah.
But I think that's where our value. That's what we have to focus on as residential architects. Is what is the value, so that our work really is an investment in your home.
What are the kinds of things that, as an architect, you can add to a house or the design of it that helps make it more sellable when you do go to sell it? What should we be looking for? And you touched a little bit on it when you talked about how there might be other houses in the neighborhood that didn't have that benefit, that don't sell so well because those features aren't in it. So what are we talking about?
Well, one of the things I always look at is, where is the light coming from? Where are the breezes coming from? Where are the views? So we really look at that and build a house that fits its site, whether it's in Burns Park or whether it's out in Scioto Township. There's always some sort of nice view. There's always, where do the breezes come from, so we know where to orient the windows so that they can open and close and really catch the breezes and cool the house anyway, and things like that. And I think one of the things I almost everyone who I've ever gone and met with, one of the aspects they always looking for is light. Good light.
Yeah. And I know that's been a central theme of yours, along with the landscape and using it wisely in the building of homes, Damian.
Yeah, there's a guy who put 10 sets of French doors in his own home.
Yeah, that's what he did.
8 foot high in the Michigan climate. Yeah, in certain parts of growing up in a tropical climate, I can't get over.
Yeah.
But I mean, actually, I'm glad you mentioned Burns Park, because the work I've done in Burns Park, beautiful neighborhood. I mean, probably one of the most serendipitous, true T&D, traditional neighborhood design, because it's walkable and great sidewalks, trees.
It's like a little mini city within.
It is, but the beauty of each individual parcel is in the backyard, not so much in the front yard.
Right.
Well, most of these homes, the back of the house facing the backyard, they're full of stuff. Powder room, kitchen with high windows, those that have attached garages. I mean, fortunately, most of them are detached. But that's so the best part of the piece of property is seldom evident in your daily life in your home. They're focused on the street, which is great. People who live there love that street interaction. But then you get, the gardeners who go out and do their garden. Well, so much of the work we've done in Burns Park has been about turning it around, and moving these blocks, if you will, that have to be blocks in a sense in a home, to the side, so that you can see through. And then you start to bring light through, and you start to bring air through, and so on. And then you start to create the delight that you see in the backyard.
In the backyard, that makes sense. It really does.
So I think that's the kind of thing, that's where the value comes in, as opposed to just going in and saying, well, let's redo this bathroom, and we'd like to have a large piece of granite with 2 sinks. Because then we look at it and go, well, okay, that's great, but if we did it the other way, and we shifted this wall a little bit over here, and when you come to the top of the stairs, you're not just walking straight into a room, but maybe we can borrow some light. Those are the kinds of things we talk about and look for when we get an opportunity.
That's what architects can do for you. Damian Farrell from Damian Farrell Design Group. His special guest today is Don Zuber with Studio Z Architecture. And Don, as we mentioned, member of the American Institute of Architects, serving on the National Steering Committee for the Custom Residential Architects Network. And these are the kinds of issues that are important to CRAN. You come from Ohio originally, is that right?
Yes, yeah. Good memory.
And where did you go to school?
I went to school at University of Cincinnati.
And have been here how long now?
Over 18 years. So.
And you've done a lot of work, as you mentioned, in Burns Park and other places around our community.
Yes.
You mentioned pricing, and let's talk about that, because that's something that people wonder, how do we pay an architect? How is pricing worked out?
I don't know how Damian does it. We're not allowed to really talk about specific numbers,
No,
but of course, but we by the federal government says that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not allowed to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
openly
price
discuss
price
fixing.
fixing. We're afraid
Yeah.
of that, you know. But there's a good reason for that. But I know some architects charge as a percentage of the cost of construction. I tend to do things on an hourly basis because most of my work is very specific remodeling, and it's very hard to tell up front exactly how many hours something's going to take. Having said that, I do typically write out a very detailed estimate of where I think the project will fall, and give people a very clear outline of the kind of work I'll be doing and how much time I think it's going to take. But it varies by person, you know, by how they make decisions and how they stick to their decisions and how much they rethink. And
Are you able to get that information if you are looking at different architects to utilize for a project? You're going to base it on obviously their design, aesthetics, and all of that, but pricing plays into it for a lot of people today. So you're able to get that information up front, right?
oh, absolutely. It's just Damian and I can't talk about how we, you know, what our prices are to each other because we don't want to have any kind of collusion, you know.
But we do. I work exactly the way Dawn does, essentially, on these kinds of projects. But you know, one of the other reasons I wanted Dawn to join us today is that, you know, people think architects just do architecture. Dawn's an exception, and a wonderful exception, because what architects do, we use design to either make change or solve problems. I mean, that's the essence of our work, is design and design thinking. All right, architecture is our umbrella. So Dawn is a jewelry maker, and she's wearing some of her
Beautiful
jewelry today.
jewelry you do. And
Right.
you work primarily in what?
It's polymer clay.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank
Lovely.
you.
Yeah.
So you actually wear your architect.
She does. She does. You know,
Yeah.
she makes this beautiful jewelry. Activist.
Yeah.
Right? Can I call you activist?
I think that's a fair.
For the profession. Singer in a band. You know, involved at the national level, caring and advocating for what we do as architects. And so it's, you know, we don't just design buildings. We can draw. We are designers.
It's a very good point.
We think that way.
And it does illustrate how design plays an important role in our lives on a very everyday basis.
Yeah. Right.
Great talking with both of you today on our Damian on Design segment here on 1290 WLBY. For more information about Dawn Zuber's work, you can go to Studio Z Art, A-R-C-H, ARC, studiozarc.com. And for Damian, it's DFDGonline.com. Got it. Each week he's on the air with fascinating guests from the world of architecture. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank
you.
you.
You're listening to
Always
Ann
a
Arbor's
pleasure.
Talk Station, 1290 WLBY.